Good morning, everybody. Happy Hump Day to you on October 1st, 2025. I got all your stories for your rush hour ride to work. Oh boy, a lot to get into here in the pop culture universe. We have Keith Urban updates. We're going to share some clips of what he said leading up to his now pending divorce. Fans are looking at clues as to why the relationship may have failed. It could get messy. We'll share that. Plus, we've got Justin Baldoni getting sued again. Oh boy, bad luck. Good for the lawyers, bad for Baldoni. Sued by the New York Times. They want to recoup their costs after his defamation suit was dismissed by the judge. We'll get into those stories. Plus, an AI actor has emerged, leaving real actors upset. And then at the end of the episode, we'll discuss the shutdown. Congratulations, folks. The government is shut down. What does this mean? And what Jimmy Kimmel has to say about his show getting canceled and then uncanceled. And I've also got Megyn Kelly reacting, the culture war queen herself, making something out of nothing. Loves to be upset at all of the culture war issues Megyn Kelly responds to. Bad Bunny being the halftime performer. These stories and more starts right now on The Rush. So let's dive into this. AI actress sparking backlash. And it should. If I could just choose the option to boycott all artificial intelligence, I would. But it's everywhere. It's in our phones. It's in everything we use at this point. But when is it going to go too far? And to me, it's things like creative works. Like, it's one thing to use artificial intelligence for maybe some assistant work here, putting a schedule together. But are we going to start seeing movies of AI actors? I don't know how I feel about this. Let's have a listen.
3 seasons and a podcast.
Meet Tilly Norwood, the world's most controversial new actor.
Can she cry on Graham Norton?
While she might seem real on screen and on her social media, take a closer look. Can you tell?
Tilly Norwood, 100% AI generated.
Yep, she's fake. Tilly Norwood is the first creation from a new studio that develops AI actors.
I'm out. Boo. Nope, I don't want it. And so much so, don't even show me. I don't even want the options. Give me the version where I can choose no AI actors, and give me the version of social media where I can choose strangers can't comment on my thing. It's too much. Our brains can't handle this bandwidth. We were meant to live in small communities where we know everybody's name. Cheers, right? Not this stuff. I can't do it. All right. Well, the government shutdown is here. Do you have travel plans? How will this impact travel? Good questions. We need to know. Have a listen.
If the government does shut down at midnight, you might feel it at airports in particular all across the country. More than 58,000 TSA employees and 13,000 air traffic controllers would be working at that point without pay.
For travelers showing up at airports tomorrow or through the rest of this week, impact is likely limited from a government shutdown. But if it continues longer than, if it's measured in weeks or months, that's when people need to prepare for delays and disruptions. And I'm basing that off what we saw back in 2018. That was a 35-day government shutdown that started in December. And it was about 2 weeks in when officers missed that first paycheck where we saw TSA sick calls start to climb at airports across the country.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? If I'm not getting paid, what? Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I've got a case of pay me. So again, that was the longest government shutdown, 35 days. That was Trump's shutdown. And this is another one. How long will it be? Who's going to bluff? On the back end of this episode, I'm going to discuss why the shutdown happened. And you can agree to disagree on this, but I'm going to share everything I know about it and why some people are just lying to your faces. All right, Nicole Kidman files for divorce from Keith Urban after he, split from her and has moved on. But what does this mean? Let's go to some podcast interviews that Keith did that led up to the divorce.
I interviewed Keith Urban about a year ago. For those who don't know, he's just split from Nicole Kidman. And when we spoke, it was very clear that the poor guy was totally sick of being asked about his much more famous wife. Up until then, he was charm personified, happily talking about music, his friendship with Taylor Swift, who supported him early in her career. But there was this one topic that raised a shield, and that was Nicole. She famously staged an intervention that saved his life from alcoholism just 4 months after their wedding, as he said in a song, "Thank You." When I brought up that intervention, he looked me in the eye and he snapped, "I just don't want to give you guys a headline about my wife," he said. He never lost his cool, but there was a deep sensitivity underneath that brush off. He knew the drill. He talks about his career. I talk about his global star wife. You know, that was the deal. It was transactional. And the brutal truth was he was right to be sensitive. Without Nicole, I wouldn't have been there. The reason we were interviewing him was because he was married to her. And his marriage undeniably boosted his success and his sobriety.
I think this is unfair. I think this is unfair that because he's more famous, because he's with Nicole Kidman, that people feel like they can pry into his life. If he sets a boundary that he doesn't want to talk about his wife, or now the woman he's, going through divorce with, then I think that's fair. You know what I mean? Like, I know people can have different opinions on this, and a lot of people have said, he should just answer the questions and deal with it. It's like, that's the least sort of graceful take you could have. I mean, really, think about it. Think about your personal life. And somebody, you go on a show, you want to talk about your art, you want to talk about things, and then people want to bring that up. Here's a clip from a radio show, Keith shutting down the discussion. This is from about a year ago.
Speaking of your amazing love story with Nicole, you met at G'day Australia. Is that what it was called?
G'day LA.
G'day LA.
Yeah.
If you hadn't both been there that day, would your paths somewhere have inevitably crossed? Or maybe this incredible
probably.
Life story wouldn't have happened?
No, I think it would.
Yeah? Are you a believer in fate, or do you think as two Australians it would have happened?
No idea.
I just often think that if you weren't at that event, maybe you don't have the same friendship group, it may never have happened.
Well, never know.
You never know.
It's fate.
These are horrible answers he's giving. He's giving them nothing. But he doesn't want to give them something that then gets clicks and leads into headlines. And then his wife's like, why are they printing articles about me? So I respect that take that he's got, and we don't even know what led to the breakup, right? Multiple things can be true. She could save him from, she could save his life through an intervention, and also they could be no longer compatible. You know what I mean? So anyhow, we'll see if there's any more information comes out. Am I riding Keith Urban here? Maybe. Maybe he's a piece of trash human, but I haven't seen that so far. I haven't seen, it's possible that both people could be good people and they just didn't work out. I don't know. All right. So there's your Keith Urban update. You love to see it. All right. Today's episode of the Rush Hour podcast is sponsored by Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one of my favorites. Ooh, are they delicious. Start your day with a protein-packed breakfast from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Oh, you thought they only had delicious smoothie options? You're mistaken. Pair that smoothie with a toasted breakfast wrap, order ahead online, and earn rewards with the Tropical Smoothie Cafe app. Like to customize things? Add more good vibes to your smoothie. Fresh add-ins like almonds, spinach and kale, chia seeds, or supplements like protein and Energizer. My favorite smoothie is the Peanut Paradise, chock full of 22 grams of protein. My wife loves the mixed berry Greek yogurt bowl topped with fresh strawberries and blueberries, which comes with a whopping 26 grams of protein. Make every day a getaway with our bold flavors and better-for-you pairings only at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Tropical Smoothie Cafe, you're on Tropic Time now. Now back to the show. Justin Baldoni, here's an update. New York Times sues Baldoni. I know what you're thinking. Oh, Dave, would you keep sharing the same story? No, this is a new lawsuit. Baldoni sued, his production company sued to recoup costs of tossed defamation suit. The New York Times is seeking damages from Justin Baldoni's company under the state's anti-SLAPP law over civil defamation claims that were thrown out in June. New York Times on Tuesday added to the ongoing volleying of lawsuits in the Hollywood feud between It Ends With Us stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, suing Baldoni's production company over its unsuccessful civil defamation suit surrounding the newspaper's reporting on efforts to tarnish Lively's industry reputation. In a 9-page civil complaint filed in New York Supreme Court, the Times seeks compensatory and punitive damages from Baldoni's production company, Wayfair, for the cost of litigating defamation claims that were thrown out by a Manhattan federal judge in June. So this is very interesting because, respectfully, the press gets a pass on a lot of, defamation claims in the pursuit of, in the pursuit of the truth. But what's interesting in the defamation claim, I believe, was dropped because Blake Lively filed this civil complaint and then shared that with the New York Times. Now, according to the metadata on the websites, the New York Times and Blake Lively had colluded on this story for months. They only asked Baldoni for a comment the night before. Is this warranting of a defamation suit? Well, it should definitely be warranting of shaming the journalists for shitty journalistic integrity. Here's what a comment from Reddit had to say. The New York Times should sue Megan Twohey for using the paper as a PR mouthpiece for the rich and powerful to author a hit piece on Justin full of lies. Never forget, Megan Twohey published a doctored and spliced up text without full context. Megan Twohey published false accusations about Kirsty Flaw working with Justin without even asking Flaw for comment or fact-checking. Megan Twohey reviewed thousands of pages of evidence, yet still had to cherry-pick doctored text to fit her false narrative, and yet Blake Lively is going on a fishing expedition for info spanning 107 content creators across 3 continents, and Wayfair's attorney's client communication to prove her case despite thousands of pages of evidence. Megan Twohey came up with the phrase smear campaign and what really happened when it existed nowhere in the complaint. Megan Twohey got a copy of Blake's private complaint months ahead to execute this hit piece on Justin like a good PR soldier with marching orders from Leslie Sloan. This was a hit piece is not even a question at this point. I guess the question becomes, is a hit piece defamation? And again, I don't know what the answer is to that. I think there's a lot of evidence that the New York Times and especially Megan Twohey did very, very shoddy journalism, especially the splicing of information, the splicing of text messages. As far as the New York Times reporting on what Blake Lively had said in the complaint, I think that's fair. If Blake Lively's the one who lied, she's the one who should be sued for defamation, not the New York Times. But at the very least, the New York Times, extremely shoddy journalism here. And as the commenter says, the real question is, did the New York Times and Megan Twohey advise Blake Lively to launder ill-gotten information through the sham Van Zandt subpoena? These are great questions. This subpoena that Blake Lively used to acquire the text messages was for a fake lawsuit. The fact that those text messages are even or possibly going to be allowed in court is shocking to me, considering they weren't accessed through this court case. They were accessed through a fake court case. As soon as they used a subpoena to get the text messages, they dropped the court case. It was supposed to be all Jane Doe's. You weren't supposed to know about this. It's shocking that played out. Definitely not something you'd expect to see from, A-list actor. I don't know. You wouldn't expect to see this, but I guess, I don't know. Is this lawyers that are less ethical, but will do anything for their client? Shady. So after all of this, Baldoni hit with another lawsuit. I'm laughing because it's really just, oh man. And luckily for Baldoni, he's got, a very, very wealthy benefactor, Steve Sarowitz, billionaire, that's probably helping with these legal expenses, because otherwise it's like the dude would be absolutely drained at this point. Now let's make an assumption that Justin Baldoni did nothing wrong other than hire a diva actress who wanted, to extract more control from a film. It's like this guy's been through hell and back. Now, to the contrary, if Baldoni's guilty, it's like, show the evidence. Otherwise, we have to assume people's innocence, right? Isn't that the country I live in? Well, I'll tell you what. I live in the country that wants to get down to who's to blame over the government shutdown. So we are going to cover that, which will be very interesting. But first, I wanted to share with you guys Megyn Kelly. I love to share her because she makes my blood boil. I like her, but I hate her. You know what I mean? And you might say, Dave, why do you like her? I have literally almost no reason to. She's on the opposite side of literally every issue right here. Well, here they cover Bad Bunny, who's one of the most popular streamed artists in the world, who's going to be performing the Super Bowl. And they dig for that culture war issue. People are so offended by this, they didn't even know who Bad Bunny was 72 hours ago. Have a listen.
He gets selected to play in this and released a statement. What I'm feeling goes beyond myself. It's for those who came before me and ran countless yards so I could come in and score a touchdown. This is for my people, my culture, and our history. But what he said recently when asked about this, the question, you said you wouldn't be giving any concerts in the United States. Was this out of concern about the mass deportations of Latinos? Man, honestly, yes. There was the issue of like fucking ICE could be outside my concert. And it's something that we were talking about and very concerned about.
And by the way, they could be outside. They absolutely would be outside his concert. If Bad Bunny performed in the United States in this political climate, absolutely they would go to his concerts because he's got a very, predominant Latino fan base. I mean, it's an international audience. It's not just Latinos. But so to that point, he's literally saying, I'm going to turn away money from the United States because of my principles and my values and to protect my people and my fan base. That's noble. That's noble.
So I'll just do one date in the United States. Oh, he's going to deign to grace us with his presence at the Super Bowl, Brett.
And by the way, I think he said that part in jest, like, I'm going to do one date, and it's like that date, the Super Bowl. And yeah, I mean, the ICE isn't going to be waiting outside the Super Bowl. I mean, maybe they will, but it'll be a little bit of a different audience than a traditional concert of his.
Okay, I'm going to be the first to admit, I'd heard of Bad Bunny. I didn't know who this guy was.
We could tell by looking at your home goods face.
So I'm like, who is Bad Bunny? I mean, I know I'm old, but I'm not that. There's Bad Bunny for those who are just listening. In a dress with some weird white boots that are manly, and he's got hair on his legs, but he's got this big white dress, and he's got glitter on his eyes. I mean, it's a situation. So clearly he's not my cup of tea. But then I got to thinking, whose cup of tea is he? And so, this is what I found out going down the rabbit hole on this guy.
This guy, one of the most famous pop stars in the world. It's not that you're old. It's that you've just been stuck in the lamp section of TJ Maxx for too long. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not for you. When will people understand everything's not supposed to be just for you?
No idea that Barack Obama's best friend, Jay-Z, he actually runs the Super Bowl selection process through his company, Rock Nation. And so as soon as I heard that, it was like, okay, it makes sense. They're just trying to shove woke ideology down America's throat in the platform of the Super Bowl. It makes sense. It's not because of who Bad Bunny is. It's because they want us woke. And that's really what it is.
That's what it is. All right, take it from, pumpkin spice podcaster over here. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Botox is just seeping into their brains. Have people lost their dang minds? Pop stars, rock stars, they've always been sort of, fluid in their presentation. Steven Tyler, you know how many handkerchiefs that guy wears? It's like, who the hell cares? Be masculine, be feminine, be both. Literally just be unique, be you. That's what Bad Bunny is. Get over it. Get over it. Coming up next, we have the government shutdown. Who's to blame? I'll let you know.